What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I am, of course, Nate Liss of DynastyRankings.com, and this week I wanted to give you 3 potential sleeper running backs ranked outside the consensus top 150 who could offer big weekly upside entering the 2023 season. So let's jump right in. Look, it's no secret that the NFL is slowly transitioning away from workhorse running backs. And this, of course, makes a ton of sense for multiple reasons. For starters, the volatility of the running back position is a tale as old as time. In fact, roughly 61% of all running backs will miss at least 1 to 3 games in any given season, which is a product of rush attempts and not passing down work. And of course, NFL owners are aware of this.
I know.
It's one of the main reasons we've witnessed a decline in volume runners over the last 2 decades. I mean, just look at these numbers, which I've broken into 2 10-year groups on the graph above. From 2002 to 2011, we saw an average of 7 running backs per season with over 300 carries and as high as 13 in 2003. Yet when we look at 2012 to 2021, that same number drops all the way back down to just 2 running backs per season with a peak of 5 in 2021. And just last season in 2022 was really no different, as just 3 runners achieved this feat, and they were, of course, Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry, and Josh Jacobs. So with the emergence of committee backfields, the decrease in running back contract sizes, the reduced draft capital being spent at the position, and of course the always likely potential of injury, having your hands on an upside asset is literally everything. So without any more fooling around, let's check out who's number 1. And that is, of course, Pierre Strong of the New England Patriots. Now, normally you'd question the potential of a 4th round, 207-pound running back coming out of South Dakota State, but I've learned my lesson.
Detention!
Because Strong checks more than enough boxes to end up on literally everyone's radar. For starters, his athleticism registered nearly off the charts at the 2022 NFL Combine, as he came in with a 75th percentile SparkX score. But what should really make Dynasty owners salivate was the fact that he had an 86th percentile burst score to go along with a 75th percentile agility score, 2 metrics that have proven time and time again to be difference makers at the running back position. But the story for Strong's profile gets better because the New England Patriots have always had 2 very distinct roles for running backs. Number 1 is the 2-down grinder role, where this runner is a hammer out of the backfield. Historically, this has been players like Sony Michel, LeGarrette Blount, and Stephen Ridley. And the second role out of the backfield has always been the pass-catching role. This has been players like Dion Lewis, Shane Vereen, and of course, James White. And interestingly enough, while Pierre Strong only played 47 total snaps as a rookie, this was the same story as Shane Vereen, who was a rookie in 2011 and played just 26 himself. And of course, surprise, surprise, James White, who was also a 4th round pick, was no different either, as he logged just 31 total snaps his rookie season as well. So while people want to write off Pierre Strong for not immediately getting on the field last season, this is literally just the way Bill Belichick does business sometimes. Just ask Damian Harris. So for as much as I love the role that Ramondre Stevenson played in 2022 while seeing 5.2 targets per game, the Patriots' history of almost never extending running backs leads me to believe they will try to get Pierre Strong into the pipeline. And this is great news for a running back who showed a better than 80th percentile target share opportunity during his collegiate sophomore season with 11.0%. So at the cost of the RB57 on KeepTradeCut, which is the equivalent of a late 2023 rookie pick, you could be hitting an absolute gem in PPR leagues if he had a ceiling that was even 75% of peak James White. And before I jump to player number 2, make sure to hit the like button and do not forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss any more of my content. Now, number 2 on this list is Deon Jackson of the Indianapolis Colts. Now, I know Jonathan Taylor is king of the castle, but hear me out for a second. Obviously, the upside here resides in the passing game potential and some level of weekly volume in the rushing game as well, because Deon Jackson is another athletic specimen in many regards and has already flashed for Dynasty owners. In fact, in 2022, during the absence of King Taylor, Jackson logged 4 games with a snap share of greater than 42%, and here's how he performed. Across those 4 games, we saw Jackson being used at a rate of 16.5 touches per game, which translated to 11 carries and 5.5 targets per outing. I mean, these are Aaron Jones level opportunity metrics, but let's calm down just a minute, because the likelihood that Jonathan Taylor and Deon Jackson become Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon is nearly 0. However, if we learned anything, it's that Nyheim Hines in 2021 still saw 57 targets and 56 carries while Jonathan Taylor posted a face-melting RB1 season. And for those that were not keeping track at home, Nyheim Hines was traded mid-season, leaving a huge role behind. So while the league continues to shift towards reduced workloads for feature runners, and Jonathan Taylor is already coming off of a season where he missed 6 games due to injury and is already being used in a less than 70% snap share capacity for the entirety of his NFL career, Dynasty gamers could do a lot worse than investing in the consensus RB67 on KeepTradeCut, knowing he's a dart throw in literally any deal. I mean, with his only competition being age 25 Zach Moss, who added absolutely zero to the passing game last season, you know he's worth the ad. And number 3 is none other than Jerome Ford. Look, when you're throwing darts, the goal is to close your eyes, tie a blindfold around your face, spin in a complete circle, and throw that thing as hard as you can. Right? Of course you do. And Jerome Ford, with his athletic profile, is exactly the type of inexpensive option you aim at. And while Ford doesn't offer elite short area ability, his overall speed score, which ended up in the 84th percentile, is exactly the type of reason to be enthusiastic. At 23.5 years old, we didn't see much of Ford in 2022 during his rookie season, but we saw plenty of him during his final year as a Cincinnati Bearcat, posting over 1,500 all-purpose yards while also holding a 3.48 yards created after contact average and ranking top 13 amongst all draft-eligible running backs with 48 missed tackles forced, is why Ford is dripping in allure. But believe it or not, at this rock-bottom price tag, his situation is not as bad as it might look. With Kareem Hunt officially a free agent and unlikely to be extended in Cleveland, as well as the ultra-explosive Deon Jackson hitting the free agent market as well, and the fact that the Cleveland Browns have minimal early round draft capital, Nick Chubb becomes that bulletproof vest for Jerome Ford. Because the presence of Nick Chubb alone is what could keep the Browns organization from using any real draft capital on running back competition. And because of that, there is a very real chance that Jerome Ford enters 2023 as the second running back option behind Chubb. And from there, literally anything can happen. So while he's currently the RB61 on KeepTradeCut, which feels surprisingly high by the way, and is currently on almost nobody's radar, you can add him for next to nothing in literally any offseason trade. And from there, stash him away knowing that Kareem Hunt was averaging roughly 12 touches per game over the last 3 seasons in a backup role. Because with the injury volatility at the running back position always being sky high, you again could do a lot worse than Jerome Ford. Guys, as the NFL remains in flux and we continue to see the emergence of more and more divided or committee backfields, we're seeing more backup runners in bigger capacities. In fact, players like Khalil Herbert, Deonta Foreman, Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, and Samaje Perine, just to name a few, already saw opportunity shares above 40% just last season. This is literally what makes stashing backup and, more importantly, athletic backup running backs so important. And because teams are literally an injury away from a next man up situation on any given week, it makes players like the ones listed above great assets to add at their price tag. And again, Pierre Strong, Deon Jackson, and Jerome Ford are easy additions to any roster in Dynasty leagues. And thanks again, everybody, for checking out this video. And as always, comment below and tell me what you thought. Is there a player that I missed? And how do you feel about the 3 from this video? And if you enjoyed the content you saw today, hit the subscribe button and join this growing community of data lovers looking for in-depth takes of under-the-radar players. And as always, I will see you guys next week.